Well, I think we've answered our central question. How does fear shape the stories we tell? But how does this all connect to mythology? From Sasquatch in the Pacific Northwest to Mothman in West Virginia, monsters and urban legends have fascinated us for centuries. But have you ever thought about what these stories really say about us? These aren't just scary tales. They reflect our fears, our values, and even bring people together. Today, we're going to look beyond the fears that monsters and urban legends represent to see how these stories also show values, cultural identity, and shared human experiences. Grab your guided notes and let's get started. When we think about monsters and urban legends, we often focus on the fears they represent. But that's not all they stand for. They also show what we value. These stories act as mirrors, reflecting the challenges and priorities of the societies that created them. How could a monster or urban legend reveal what's important to the people who created it? Jot down your thoughts. One way monsters reflect values is through cautionary tales. These are stories that warn people about the consequences of breaking societal norms or neglecting important responsibilities. Just think of sea serpents. Stories of massive creatures that could sink ships with ease served as cautionary tales, warning of the dangers of the sea and reckless exploration. Remember, these monsters were even printed on maps as a warning for sailors. The boogeyman is one of the simplest examples of a cautionary tale. In many stories, this shadowy figure lurks in the dark, waiting to punish misbehaving children. Whether it's hiding under the bed, in the closet, or just out of sight, the boogeyman is used to warn kids about the dangers of breaking the rules, like staying out too late or talking to strangers. Another way monsters reflect what we value is by embodying traits that go against a culture's belief. These creatures often symbolize behaviors or fears that challenge important societal norms and, by contrast, highlight what matters most. Remember the roots of the Sasquatch urban legend? In Europe, tales of hairy wild men of the woods were meant to be scary, representing the untamed and primal aspects of nature. In cultures that value order and civilization, stories of wild men created a contrast, showing the dangers of abandoning society. Or consider werewolves. These creatures have long represented the danger of losing control and giving in to primal instincts. What value do you think they might represent? In cultures that value discipline and self-restraint, the idea of transforming into a wild, uncontrollable beast acts as a warning against letting anger or emotions take over. The werewolf serves as a reminder of the importance of maintaining order and control over one's actions. As cultural values shift, monsters change too. Vampires, for example, once represented fears of disease, but today they often symbolize immortality and power, reflecting an age that values youth and influence. Sometimes monsters even end up being adapted into beloved cultural icons as the fears and values of a culture change. Just think about how Sasquatch started off as scary, but evolved into a positive symbol of the wilderness that people love. So monsters aren't static. They evolve with us, shaped by the fears we face and the values we strive to uphold. And these stories can do more than just represent our fears and values. They can bring people together. Have you ever noticed how some monsters or urban legends go from being scary stories to becoming symbols that people celebrate? Why do you think that happens? Monsters can unite people against a common enemy, like how vampires sometimes represented outsiders threatening a community. But sometimes, what starts as a scary story grows into something much bigger, something that brings people together. When we think about creatures like Sasquatch or Mothman, we see how they go beyond reflecting fears and values to become symbols of the communities that tell their stories. They bring people together, represent unique places, and help create a sense of identity. Take Mothman, for example. What started as a local urban legend in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, is now a celebrated part of the town's identity. The annual Mothman Festival brings visitors from all over, and the Mothman Museum and statue have made Point Pleasant a destination. The creature may have started as a symbol of fear, but it's become something positive, a way for the community to connect and celebrate what makes them unique. But what about monsters that aren't unique to one community, but appear all across the globe? Why do you think some monster stories, like those of vampires or witches, are so widely shared across different cultures? How might they reflect shared human struggles or values? Let's take another look at the boogeyman. This creepy figure exists in so many cultures around the world, and while the details change, the story stays the same at its core. Whether it's El Cucu in Spanish-speaking cultures or Baba Yaga in Slavic folklore, remember her? These monsters are often described with sharp teeth or claws, or as shadowy figures that hide in the dark. In some cases, like tales of Krampus, they even carry a sack to stuff misbehaving children into and take them away. Pretty terrifying, right? But here's the key. The boogeyman isn't just about scaring kids, it's about keeping them safe. Across cultures, these stories share a common purpose. They reflect the value societies place on children and the need to protect them. The idea of a monster waiting to snatch them away reminds kids to avoid dangerous situations and trust the guidance of their caregivers. So while these legends might feel unique to a specific place, they're really about something universal: the shared human experience of raising children, keeping them safe, and passing down important lessons about caution and responsibility. It's amazing how the same type of monster can appear across the globe, slightly different but teaching us the same thing. It really shows how storytelling connects us as humans, doesn't it? Whoa! We've unlocked the final piece of the codex! I know that the Institute still has one more assignment for us, though. Make sure to complete the research in your lesson materials and finish up today with online practice. Until next time, stay legendary.
Hey!